Trump's going absolutely bonkers, okay, on trying to hide information that he doesn't like. From museums to economic data, that's the big one lately. And this comes in a few different forms that I want to talk to you about. But essentially, instead of working overtime, no tax on overtime, as Trump said, to shift his policies such that our economy improves, he's just trying to get rid of or force institutions to get rid of people who are telling us the truth about the economy. So the latest example of that here is from the Wall Street Journal. Trump calls on Goldman to replace economists over tariff stance. So you have this top economist at Goldman Sachs, who of course is analyzing the effects of Trump's tariffs and giving you the take that I've given you. And this is going to increase prices and slow growth. And Trump then lashes out on Truth Social and says Goldman Sachs needs to fire their top economist because he's a loser for giving accurate information. We have so many other examples of the things that Trump is attempting to hide. But first, let me show you Justin Wolfers, an economist, saying, well, if he's now targeting people who say the truth about the economy, let me double down on the truth about the economy.
There's a story now about Trump saying that Goldman Sachs should fire its economists who said tariffs would slow economic growth.
Let me look him right in the eye and say tariffs are going to raise inflation and slow economic growth. Come at me, brother. But this is actually more pernicious than that. What this is a president telling a bank on Wall Street who to hire as their chief economist. After he told Intel who to hire as their CEO. After he told Harvard what to put on their curriculum. After he told Coca-Cola what kind of sweetener to use in their drinks. This is command and control. This is a single man in a room deciding all the different levers about what should happen in the economy rather than letting individuals make their own choices and individual experts and businesses compete with each other in the market to produce the best possible goods at the best possible prices. This is central planning. This is the thing Reagan fought against. And it's a beautiful irony, Jason. You and I are on MSNBC right now arguing for market forces over this excess of central planning from an administration crazy on power.
Is that ironic? Trump, who calls everyone who's like 1 inch to his left a communist. Adam Kinzinger's a communist. Okay. Liz Cheney's a communist. Is actually deploying communistic. He's not a communist, but communistic. Crony communism, in a way. Tactics. Very
the turntables.
And this is why you have people like Scott Bessent on Fox Business with Larry Kudlow of the show Cuddlo. Let's cut now to our Cuddlo Corner. That's a joke from the bonus show. You could get it by clicking the join button. I don't know what. And then the subscribe button is the free one. And he just totally has to invent numbers because that's the only way you can defend Trump's economic approach.
You got cooking on that, the amount of money. Ballpark. Both private direct investment and these government investments.
Well, just on the tariff income, I'd been saying $300 billion, but I think we're going to have to substantially revise that up. So well in excess, 1% of GDP. And then with the new investments, they're the sovereign investments that we talked about. But then in terms of the committed investment by private industry, we're well over 10 trillion.
I love 10 trillion. It's an unbelievable number. Yeah. Unbelievable story.
Literally unbelievable. I think Larry Kudlow is giving us a wink wink. That's unbelievable, meaning no one believes it because it's not true. Did Scott Bessent get a new hairdo? Scott, you're not on One Direction. You're supposed to be the Treasury Secretary. Look at that hairdo. That is something. He's trying to compete with Gavin Newsom. Look at that. Wow. Every time I see Scott Bessent, this is such a dumb point, but I promise it's not to like be silly. I actually keep thinking of it. I don't recommend anyone do drugs. I don't do drugs. Why'd you laugh? I don't. I'm serious.
Trying to figure out where this is going to go.
But oh gosh, how do I say? Again, I'm totally against cocaine. As far as cocaine goes, I'm against it. But if I ever were to try cocaine for the first time, I would want it to be with Scott Bessent. Does that make sense? Like, I would love to see him on cocaine. I don't know. Trump is. Oh my gosh, forget it. Oh my gosh, my hair's a wreck. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. We gotta. Did you hear? Trump didn't tell you. I just like to see it. So it's a random thought. It's not relevant, but I've been thinking of it a lot lately. So that's one point, right? 10 trillion, wrong. The scary thing is, I would say, let's just wait until we see it in the metrics. If that's true, we're going to see it in the economic metrics that we track. But now they're getting people in to skew those economic metrics. So I don't know, maybe we will. They'll be like, hey, this is kind of shocking. Over the last year, our GDP has grown to 50 trillion. It's just kind of cool. This has never happened. But Trump's labor stats nominee, the new commissioner, who wants to be the new commissioner of the Bureau of Labor Statistics, has said, as we talked about in a different segment, or we're going to talk about or something, that he won't release jobs reports until data is corrected. So he's considering not releasing monthly jobs reports after Trump got rid of the other head of the Bureau of Labor Statistics, because jobs numbers came out that made the economy look worse than Trump wanted it to. And this MAGA guy that he's picked is going, I think we might stop publishing those until we can figure out what's going wrong with the numbers. Not what's going wrong with the economy, what's going wrong with the numbers. Think about that. I try not to throw this around too much, but this is so prototypically authoritarian. The first thing that, it's not that Trump's a full dictator yet, but that dictatorially minded people do is try to get their hands around and full control over what the public knows about the truth of different issues. And that's what he's doing here. And this is the guy. Oh, he's a fun looking guy. Look at him and Steve. Talk about guys I'd like to do cocaine with. He has a goatee. I'm describing for a podcast listener. He has a goatee. And he's a fun looking guy. The other thing that's fun about him is that supposedly he just sits for interviews in front of a Nazi warship. This is not from me. Ed Krasenstein said, nothing to see here, just Trump's nominee to replace the Bureau of Labor Statistics chief that he fired after a poor jobs report sitting in front of a Nazi battleship. I'm sure it's nothing. What it is, I chatted with him. Is his name EJ? EJ and Tony. He just loves the way the water, it's sort of like psh, in this photo. There's something, you're a photographer. There's something real picturesque. Cole, is this a photograph that you would, it's just something about the clouds. It's very, not at all. He's an artist. EJ. And there's just something about the splashing of the water. It has nothing to do with the Nazi of it all. The splashing of the water, and we are losing our feed for a second. I'll let it come back. I think we're all good. But and he's a shipophile, you know. He's just a real geek for ships. So he has all the ships. It's not just this one of a Nazi nature. No, I have no idea why. And I don't even know I don't have eyes to tell you if that's a Nazi battleship. But other people are claiming that. And it's just kind of like, of course, that would be a thing that it's nothing. It reminded me of, you remember when Clarence Thomas was really tight, I guess he still is, with that billionaire? Crow? I'm blanking on his name. But just one random fact was he was obsessed with collecting Nazi artifacts. And it's like, okay, that's not necessarily bad. I like to put on Hitler's ring to remember how bad he was. You know, I just like to feel how bad he was on my finger. And it's like, okay, all right. I'm not making allegations, but I just like to wear one of those armbands while I'm in bed with my wife. It's like, okay. I mean, what you do behind closed doors, but it's strange to me. And I don't know even if that's actually Nazi battleship. So who knows? But he before was actually discussing with Steve Bannon, we need a MAGA guy at the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Why? You just have nonpartisan statisticians. That's what you want. You don't need them to have any political ideology. You don't need to care about the political. They're just going to do the math, survey people, and figure out what the jobs market is. But they were already on this even before he got this position.
I want to talk about something you've been on here for 4 years complained about, and that is the Bureau of Labor Statistics and whether we get accurate numbers. Now everybody's talking about the number here. It's 250,000 jobs. They're like on the downside. It turns out we didn't get, and now it's a restatement. What in the hell is going on there? And have we put in our own person into BLS? Is a MAGA Republican that President Trump knows and trusts? Are they running the Bureau of Labor Statistics yet, sir?
No, unfortunately, Steve, we still haven't gotten there. And I think that's part of the reason why we continue to have all of these different data problems. You know,
I want to talk about something you've been on here for 4 years. Complaining.
Me and Steve are twinning now with we got our writing devices on our shirt at all times. I don't know why I find that. It tickles me. It's funny. Why do you need that many pins? It's not a data problem. Stop describing it as that. It's an economy problem. Yes, they do revisions. They've always done revisions. And even after the revisions of Biden's years, we got a strong jobs market that Trump was handed. And then even after the revisions of his economy, we now have a worse jobs market. That's the problem. Now, unless you're ready to literally fabricate, which would be really hard to do without it leaking that this is what you're doing, phony jobs numbers, then you're going to come up with the same results, which is why that guy is suggesting we just pause the jobs reports for now and do them more on a quarterly basis.
And that we will deliver like nobody's ever delivered before. I actually think it's easy. You know, if you're competent, it's easy. If you're incompetent, it's impossible. But I'm very competent.
Yeah, I just thought you should see that. While I continue to do this, please do click the subscribe button if you appreciate the show. And then, if you want a drink that not only tastes good, let me see if I can actually, I feel like we have, let me just show you some of these photos. Just we're about to get to Carolina 11. 1 second. Should put this up on screen, Jaden? Look at this. If you look at that, it's a Pep Can flying through the sky, not even one single Nazi battleship behind it. And you can get this directly to your doorstep. drinkpep.com, an energy drink, no artificial flavors, no artificial colors. Instead, active probiotics, gut-friendly ingredients so that you treat your body as you should. My brothers and I worked really hard on this. drinkpep.com, order it. There, and just while we're looking at, I mean, come on, look at this. Look, show this, Jaden. Look at this. Come on. What are we doing? Yeah. So, drinkpep.com. Very fun stuff going on. I really appreciate all the people who have purchased it. It has been incredible. And we got good reviews back from all of you. All right. So, that's number one, economic data. He also hates the fact that Jerome Powell is operating off of real economic data and wants him to pretend like tariffs aren't going to increase inflation and he should just drop the interest rates to the floor. And so now he's floating, and Levitt confirms, suing Jerome Powell.
Thank you. The president weighed in on Jay Powell again today, you might have seen. He said that he's considering allowing a major lawsuit against Powell to proceed because of the, quote, horrible and grossly incompetent job he has done. Can you tell us about that? What lawsuit is he talking about?
He's considering a lawsuit, and I won't speak on it any further. I will allow the president to do that himself.
Is it fair to say the administration is considering suing the Fed chair over this renovation?
That's what the president is saying.
Has he had discussion?
That's what the president's saying. The president's saying that he's considering suing the chair of the Federal Reserve because the chair of the Federal Reserve understands how tariffs work and thus is not comfortable lowering interest rates right now. That's berserk. By the way, Newsweek reports U.S. layoffs surged in July to their highest level since the early months of the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, the other aspect of this hiding saga that we're going through is if you wanted to make the argument that Trump really wanted to be a dictator, you would make a list and you would say, go after media outlets, obviously, throw out people's due process, send them to foreign prisons without proper due process when they're innocent and be tortured. You would say he's going to deploy the military onto American streets. You would say he's going to try to suppress information that makes him look bad. And the list goes for a while, but then you would eventually get to he would try to suppress history that he doesn't like. And lo and behold, NPR, the Trump administration, sent a letter to the Smithsonian Institution on Tuesday requesting a comprehensive internal review of 8 of its museums with the aim of bringing the organization in line with President Trump's cultural directives ahead of the country's 250th anniversary celebrations. Another way I saw it described was, is this on here? Aims to ensure alignment with President Trump's directive, celebrate. Okay, no. But others were, it needs to get in alignment with Trump's vision of American history. Now, as you look through some of the museums that are a part of this, let's just stop at this one. The National Museum of African American History and Culture. Let me just put it this way. Do I feel comfortable with Trump or Stephen Miller picking and choosing what he thinks is not aligned with Stephen Miller's vision of America from the African American History Museum? No, I don't feel comfortable with that. And you know exactly, even if you're MAGA, you know exactly what's going on here. Please, for a second, you know what's going on here. They don't like certain parts of history being given emphasis, even in museums, like where that goes. That's where you do that stuff. I mean, like there are hugely positive parts of African American history. But if you were to walk into the African American History Museum and there were certain parts missing, I think you'd be confused, right? I think you'd be a little bit disoriented. And David Axelrod said, I know this makes MAGAs really upset, but this reminds him of Stalin.
I mean, I hate to refer to a cliche or an often, quoted phrase, but if for those who, don't study the past or remember the past, you're doomed to repeat the mistakes of the past. The White House letter says, our goal is not to interfere with the day-to-day operations of curators or staff, but rather to support a broader vision of excellence that highlights historically accurate, uplifting, and inclusive portrayals of America's heritage. I mean, they've already put out stuff about national parks. They want to review monuments and national parks to make sure there's nothing that might offend anybody or be, in any way negative about, the behavior of Americans in the past.
Yeah. Let's also remember what the Civil War was about. I mean, the statues he wants to restore are people who are fighting to retain slavery, and that is...
Okay, sorry, I'm trying not to pause it, but I need to really quickly. When they say we want to just portray a more uplifting version of all the events. It's like, okay, I love uplift. Look at this. I have this on my desk. You think I don't want to uplift America? I want to uplift America like you couldn't even fathom. But to do that, we have to understand America. To uplift America, we have to understand it. And we can't understand it if we don't know about or put into the proper context all of our history. And let me tell you, as much as I love this flag, there are parts that you can't spin as uplifting. Now, the idea is you learn about all of it, the good, bad, and the ugly, and you say, wow, look at the wrongs. That people act like that has to depress you and make you hate this flag. That serves as a motivator for the magnitude of the power that we wield as a country, that sometimes has been wielded for horrific ends, for us to activate and use that power for good. And we have examples through history when we've done that. And so the whole point of learning history properly, and many portions are, there's no uplifting, there's nothing uplifting about it, gives you the tools you need to actually facilitate the best of what America can be. Okay?
Just a historical fact. This has just kind of a Soviet feel to it, a Stalinist feel to it, that you just, you take over cultural institutions and historical institutions and you try and rewrite history. But as you pointed out before, Anderson, this is a president who is rewriting history every day. And he believes that you can do that. When crime is up, no, crime is down. Things cost less, no, things cost more. I mean, this goes on, and I think he feels as if he has the authority to impose his will. And the irony, as Professor Brooks said, is that in this instance, this is all around the 250th anniversary of our founding fathers declaring themselves free of a mad king. And you wonder what they would think coming back today and watching this.
And the story gets even crazier. He mentioned it, which is while they're doing this, they're going, the people, okay, deep breaths. Feel where you are, everybody. Feel the butt cheeks under your chair. Feel your hands on your desk. The more you feel your sensory feelings, the less you will experience your severe emotions. Okay, as we go through this is the failed. The same people at the same time who not only told us that not having statues to Confederate soldiers was erasing our history. When we want us to learn about the Confederacy, we just don't think we have to honor it with these big statues. And they would say, no, that's erasing history. Robert E. Lee Elementary, changing that is erasing your history. And now they're actually going, and I don't know, I think I might have a clip in a different segment of someone defending this. But the way he spinned it was, well, it's just about what do we emphasize, right? But it's transparent. They're going to try to either push out of museums or push to the less seen parts, the things that they think doesn't align with American exceptionalism, which I think America is exceptional. And I believe that with a full understanding of our history, directed towards what we are at our best and what we can be. Okay? You can have both. Damn it. But number one, what authoritarians do is push forward the idea that you can't. You have to pretend like you've been perfect all the time to love your country. Insane. And number two, things that specifically contradict with Trump narratives, like the whole Make America Great Again thing. But if you understand more of history, you go, wait, where are you wanting us to go back to? Because there were very terrible, unique challenges then that I wouldn't want to relive. But the same people who go, we can't have names changed of buildings or forts, military installations, away from a traitor's name to our country, because then somehow we're erasing history. But also they want to go through, comb through, and get rid of. They'll use flowery language like an internal review. What's the review for? You're going to pick things that you don't think should be in there, of factual parts of history, in a place where you're not honoring those parts, in the cases of the bad leaders, but you're learning about them. And at the same time that they're doing that, they're pushing forward the reinstallation of Confederate statues. And do you remember Trump went through the list and said, we're going to rename Fort Robert E. Lee? So how are we supposed to interpret this? I always come back to this, but I want to believe you have the best intentions, even though, man, it's like sticking my arm out and you chop it off, and I give you my other arm, you chop it off, and then I give you my wee-wee and you chop it off. But I'm trying again. Now here's my head. Here, don't behead me. And I'm trying. I want to, against all odds, believe you have the best intentions, but explain to me what we're supposed to perceive after you are, we'll see what you remove, but you like to rewrite history, except you want us to go back to honoring in the form of big statues to traitors who in the fight for slavery turned on their own country people. How are we supposed to perceive that? You're fine with removing the name of a gay guy or something off of a ship, but you think we should put back on the ship Robert E. Lee. How are we supposed to perceive that? Other than, no, you know what? I'm not going to say it. I'm going to keep it as a rhetorical question, so I can Tucker Carlson my way out of this if some of you get mad at me. I was just asking a question. I didn't say you support the Confederacy. I was just asking if you do. That's my question. How are we supposed to perceive it?